Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
We are back with an interesting twist in the topic. Now we have Vedic astrology with us. In the house, we have Rajat Kapoor, who has been a lifelong student of Vedic astrology. He's been pursuing this for over 5 years. He blogs, he has a Facebook page, which you can, of course, follow. But his whole objective and motive about Vedic astrology is to bring in the scientific relevance and remove the fear from it. Though professionally he's a completely different person working differently, but this is what his interest is, and he's here to guide you and, of course, bring down the interesting elements. Over to you, Shweta.
Hello. Thank you, Rajat Kapoor, for taking out time and bringing this sunny side up in the form of astrology this time. To begin with, we would like our viewers to know from you what is astrology and what's the scientific relevance of that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Shweta and Divya. Namaste, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and, of course, keeping safe in these current times. Astrology and its scientific relevance, and it sort of dates back to uh, my start in Jyotish. So I have always been very fascinated about planets and stars since my childhood. The only difference is that over years the objective has changed. Simply putting across, I consider astrology to be science because of its nature, the nature of grahas. So let's take a very simple example. Let's take an example of Surya or Sun, which is considered as a significator of the soul. Um, if there is no light, if perhaps sun does not rise for a day, there will be no light. If there will be no light, there will be no life. And that is one of the reasons why sun is known or probably is the significator of life. It is the life giver. It's the karaka of your soul. Let's take an example of moon on the other side. We say that moon has the greatest influence on planet Earth and human beings. What is the scientific relevance of it? If you look at all the grahas, the closest to Earth is moon, and that is one of the primary reasons why it has a great influence on Earth and, of course, the people who are living here. Um, if we perhaps you go to a beach or during full moon, you always notice the tides high, while during Amavasya it's quite calm and there's this low tide. So we see these change in weather as well. That is why it has the highest influence. The other reason is it's fastest moving. It completes one. So it changes one sign placement in about 2.5 days. That is also one of the primary reasons that it has a higher relevance and why it is the karaka or probably significator of mind, because that's how our mind works faster than, of course, anything else that we do. So everything is controlled by the mind, our actions, what we do, its consequences as well. So that is one of the reasons. Let's take an example of Saturn, um, which is scientifically considered a very cold and a slow moving graha. So it takes about 2.5 years to transit from one sign to the other. And that is why Saturn is considered or probably related to delays, because of its cold nature, because of its slow nature, lethargy. Of course, there are positive significances as well, but then, some of these reasons. So yes, quite scientific in nature. And of course, if we probably deep dive in all the grahas that we have, we'll have definitely lots to talk about.
Yeah.
But then
So I'm
that's how
sure
we
this,
could probably summarize.
yeah, I'm sure this would come out to be very interesting for people who keep looking for that, driving the relationship. So, which takes us to our next question, which is what is the relationship between karma and astrology?
That's a brilliant question, of course, and I'll probably answer this question in 2 or 3 parts. Okay, so first part is associated to our previous births. Um, so we say that we are born with an objective in this life, and what is happening with us is on the basis of what we have accumulated from our previous births. So we call it the karma cycle. Okay, so the karma cycle is like we have sanchit karma. So sanchit karma are the accumulations of uh, your actions in many previous births that you've taken, and they will continue to accumulate in the current birth as well. Okay, so and that's why the fifth house in Vedic astrology is also known as the house of Purva Punya, because that's where your Sanchita Karma sits. Its relation to the future is because everything which is sort of destined to happen or which happens is on the basis of the karmas which you accumulate. So that's Sanchit Karma. The other is your Prarabdha Karma. So Prarabdha Karma are those actions or probably the things that you've done in your previous birth through which you have been given this birth. Okay, so all the pains and gains or gains that you've sort of experienced in you're likely to experience in the present life are on the basis of karmas from the previous life. Okay, so you will either enjoy the fruits or probably you would suffer due to sin or bad karmas which you have in the previous life. So that's where the fruitification depends. And that's why we look at the ninth house as well for the Prarabdha Karma in astrology. Now comes the third and the most important, and that's where all the remedies come across. We call it Kriyaman Karma. So Kriyaman Karma are those actions which you endure in the current life, things that you do, your actions, your lifestyle, your relationships with others, your behavior towards others, whether it's good, bad, your overall conduct in terms of what you do. So would either make your life better or it will make your life worse. And at the same time, when it is about sort of changing your destiny or altering your destiny or probably improving your destiny. So that's where, Kriyaman Karma or your 10th house of the natural zodiac, which is your actions, your karma, your actions in the society, where it comes into picture. And we all have, this freedom. So perhaps you cannot go into the past and probably change your Sanchit Karma or what you've sort of done, but you can definitely change the way you do things in your current life. And that's where all the remedies come. And how it is linked to Sanchit Karma is, of course, in the next birth. So if you think you have perhaps a waste life at this time, a worst time period that you're sort of going through, but if your actions are good, it will at least ensure that perhaps your next birth is likely to be, better than what it is, because it is anyway getting accumulated in your Sanchit Karma. So that's how this cycle sort of works. Okay, and then it's other relationship too, because we're all born with certain goals and certain values in life, and that's where something known as the four Purusharthas come in place. So these are the four triangle houses based on triangle house grouping of triangle houses based on our so based on the goals in our lives that we have and the values that we want to live in with. So there's the Dharma Trikona, which is 1, 5, and 9. The trine. So in Vedic astrology, there are 12 houses. So we sort of make 4 trines. So that's the first trine is the Dharma trine and the Dharma Trikona. So this is all about righteousness. It's all about moral values. It's all about your conduct. Then we have the Artha Trikona, which is about financial prosperity. So there are economic values which are associated to Artha Trikona, and the houses that we look at are 2, 6, and 10. Okay, and in the current age, in this yuga that we're living in, so Artha Trikona holds a very important, of course, value with people because of its economic prosperity element that is there, because that's something which people sort of look forward to because of the goals that they have in life. Then we have the Kama Trikona, which is 3, 7, and 11 houses. The trine indicates 3, 7, 11, which is all about pleasure, relationships, and this is about psychological values because the emotional quotient plays a role when it's about relationships and pleasure, and that's where we are. And the last of the trines in the 4 Purusharthas is Moksha Trikona, which is about liberation. So these are spiritual values. Now, most people who sort of study, a lot about 4 Purusharthas and how they sort of, evolve, how they've been evolving with the karma cycle and their linkage. But one message that I'd probably like to give, or probably something different that I'd like to probably share here, is based on my research. That there are 9 grahas, including the Chaya grahas, Rahu and Ketu. So we have Surya, Chandrama, Mangala, Buddha, Guru, Shukra, Shani, Rahu, and Ketu. Now, out of all these grahas, there are 2 grahas who are the ultimate controller of the goals and values in life, and they are Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, why? There's a very simple and a very logical and a very scientific explanation to it. So in all of these trines, so let's take an example of the Dharma trine, which is 1, 5, and 9, the first house, 5th house, and the 9th house. The most impactful house, or the most powerful house of the 3 is the 9th house. Similarly, for 2, 6, 10 is the 10th house. For 3, 7, 11, it's the 11th house. For 4, 8, 12, it's the 12th house. So they're the 9th house, 10th house, 11th house, and the 12th house. The last 4 houses of the zodiac belt. Who are the rulers of these houses? They are Jupiter and Saturn. So Jupiter rules the 9th house of Sagittarius, Saturn rules the 10th house of Capricorn, Saturn again rules the 11th house of Aquarius, and Jupiter rules the 12th house of Pisces. So it is like the journey of a soul. So the journey of a soul starts from the first house, from the birth, and of course, gradually it moves on through houses till the 12th house of moksha, or liberation, or ultimately giving yourself away. And that is why Jupiter and Saturn are the ultimate controller and the most influential grahas when it comes to controlling our goals and values in life.
Good. So when we see this as a person who doesn't understand astrology at all, so what can we actually take away from this?
So someone who does not sort of understand astrology as a whole is, so one of the messages that you can take away is that we have, transits of grahas that happen. So Jupiter is sort of, currently, so it's also the retrograde season as well. So Saturn currently is retrograde, was transiting in Capricorn, now it's retrograde. So it's going to be there in this sign. So this is one of the reasons why the most influence in all the worldly activities, even global activities, and also with individuals, when there is a sign change of Jupiter and Saturn, it matters the most to all the people in general. So that's what it matters. So Moon's transit is very fast, 2.5 days. Okay, but then they take time, and then of course the long-term repercussions which are associated to it. The other important message that I'd like to give from this is that we must start focusing on our current actions that we're doing, the kriyaman karma, okay, the behavior which we have, the relationships that we have, the kind of perception we build towards other people, how we treat others, how we treat ourselves, how we treat our life. So I think that's the key. And most of the remedies, 99% of the remedies, come from the lifestyle that we have. Right. That is also another reason why Jyotish is scientific in nature.
So the next follow-up question, and after this, of course, Shweta has a different question. That is, right, like I myself have Googled retrogrades, because anytime we are in a retrograde, this makes it very interesting for people, and we Google it, and it tells us to be extremely worried. Do you advise that retrogrades are those seasons?
The simple answer to this question is no. Okay. The reason to this is that firstly, there's nothing to be sort of worried about retrograde. All of these grahas get retrograde every year. Now, the reason why it is a bit of a dreaded phenomenon now is because now people are more aware. If you would probably ask this question 10 years ago, then there were very sort of less people who were perhaps involved in astrology, or probably in terms of studying Vedic astrology. There were far less in numbers as they are today. Plus, of course, the kind of messaging which is going on, the fear mongering that is built around. See, Saturn, just take an example of that. So 365 days a year. So it retrogrades for about 140 days in a year. Okay, so that doesn't mean so. So you see that perhaps 40% of the people in the world, approximately, would have Saturn retrograde in their chart. So does that mean that all 40%, they have a sort of a bad life? Okay. Then again, Jupiter gets retrograde for about 80 to 100 days a year. So yeah, these grahas get retrograde. There's a perception which is built. There's a perception that is built around Mercury. Okay, that it gets retrograde. Oh, communication breakdown. So I think Mercury is that poor chap, which perhaps, and I joke around about it as well, that if you want to blame, so perhaps people look for reasons to blame. They just blame it on Mercury retrograde. Don't buy anything, don't start anything auspicious. I think there's nothing to be worried about, because retrograde planets are again linked to karmas. Anyone who has a retrograde graha in the chart, so it indicates your unfulfilled purpose from the previous birth, that you are born in the current birth, which you need to discover. If you discover it and act upon it, life is good for you. If you perhaps are not able to discover, or probably are not going in sync with what the graha asks for, then of course you would have troubles. And because
so
that's how it is linked.
Can we say that when we are reacting opposite it, for example, in the retrograde period, if we are just following the rat race, maybe there are bigger purposes for us, we are not becoming aware of it. That is also the reason we are going through tough times at times, because it's directing us to the better side.
Absolutely. It is constantly sort of, helping you guide towards the direction that you should be moving in. And that's what you sort of need to, kind of identify what you need to do. It is based on its lordship. It's based on the placement, the houses it is associated with. So for example, if there's a retrograde graha in the 7th house, which is the house of partnership and marriage, so there are indications and sort of unfulfilled purpose. Let's say if it's Mercury, which is the significator of communication, intellect. So that's how you can relate that, your karma is about leveraging communication in your relationship and improving and perhaps converting that to your strength. Retrograde planets are very strong in nature, because I'll give you a scientific relevance for this. Now, they don't move backwards in real. They are just appearing to sort of move backwards from the earth. So they appear to be closer to the earth. And that's why when these retrograde time is there, and especially for Jupiter and Saturn, and then we have clear skies, they're visible. Why? Because they appear to be closer to the earth. That's what they sort of appear. So they're strong in nature. They have high chestabal, which is one of the 6-fold strengths. So they're naturally strong in nature. The other thing which people should stop worrying about is if the current transit, let's say Saturn currently is retrograde in Capricorn, but then you're running a different Mahadasha and an Antardasha, which has sort of no link of Saturn for whatsoever. It will just like be a touch and go for you. All right, so it'll just like be kind of a guest appearance. It's sort of come and gone with sort of minimum to zero impact. Yes, people who are running dashas, anantadashas, and prapancha dasha, so they need to first probably understand the current placement, the natal placement in the chart, and then of course understand transits from the various associations and combinations that are there to have a holistic approach. But don't be worried. About half of the people in the world, they have one or the other graha retrograde in their chart.
Great.
Just try to understand its karmic implications.
That is really great. I'm sure, like us, people would really like to have a chart of the houses you're talking about, because first house, second house, third house. So maybe we will tell our viewers that we will definitely put a picture of the chart what he's talking about, so that you understand exactly what it means when he's saying first graha or first house, fifth house, ninth house. It's more understandable. Even for me and Divya, I would say the same thing. So
yeah, sure.
Moving ahead, thank you for giving the positive approach to the retrograde. And you are saying that most of the people have it, that we understand. Can you now tell us, because of the times we are in, going through this corona and everything, so are there any advice that you would like people to follow in these times and according to the astrological point of view?
Okay. So yes, one advice that I'd like to give to people is get yourself vaccinated as soon as you can. Okay. So because it's about time to look beyond astrology as well. So over the last couple of years, we've had people relating corona to some astrological combinations and conditions. There have been videos which have been created and later deleted as well because what they shared was went totally wrong, and we had the second wave and third wave and whatnot, and the conditions that we've sort of seen. Sort of take care of yourself and your close ones, because the kind of times that we are going through, I think it is important to sort of strengthen your lagna, your ascendant, yourself, your immunity, and that's where. And of course, it's a very karmic coincidence that the remedy which I'm going to talk about is the remedy of Surya, sun, and your page's name is Sunny Side Up. Okay, right, and with a sort of a bright sunrise in the background. So it's a great karmic indication, that we could probably consider, and it is common for all because when it is about a general problem for all. We must focus on ourselves, on the first house of the zodiac, which is the lagna or the ascendant. The karaka for ascendant is Surya, sun, the king of all grahas, the controller of everything, the most powerful and the impactful graha that we have. So there are three remedies, which perhaps I'd like to sort of recommend. So it's based on the transit of sun. So whenever the sun is or Surya is transiting your ascendant or the first house. So for example, if you are born with a lagna sign, so you can check in any of the astrological software. If it gives number 1, that means you're Aries, ascendant. If 2, then Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So 1 through 12. So depending on your lagna. So each ascendant has some sort of a sign or an image that is associated to it. So for example, for a Gemini lagna, there are twins. Okay. For Pisces lagna, there is a pair of fish that is associated. And then there are signs as well. So, Google is sort of there for all, so they can check. So whenever the sun is transiting your ascendant sign in that particular month, we should worship our ascendant sign. And this is also one of the simple remedies from a book called Saravali, wherein he talks about if anyone feels that they're having a bad time or the worst dasha or the worst time period, just draw a picture of the ascendant and start worshipping it. Very simple. Okay, so that's something which you can do. The second is when the Surya is transiting over your ascendant lord, the graha which rules your first house or your lagnesh. So for example, if you're born in Aries ascendant, and Mars is the lagnesh. So wherever Mars is placed in the chart, so let's say Mars is placed in the 10th house of Capricorn. So during Makar Sankranti, when sun transits in the sign of Capricorn over your natal Mars, so that's when you need to do you should be doing a Surya mantra. Okay, any of the Surya mantra. It could be Om Grini Surya Aditya Om, or any of the other Surya mantras that you could probably select, or Om Surya Namah, as simple as that, and sort of chant. The third remedy is when you have your solar return. That means when sun is transiting over your natal sun, right? So for example, if you are Aries sun, so when sun is transiting over Aries, or if you are Taurus sun transits over Taurus, and this is the sidereal system that I'm talking about, not the Western zodiac. Okay, wherein there's a difference of about approximately 1 month there. So this is the Vedic system that I'm talking about. So please do not refer to the Western calculations because they're different. So that's where worshipping Shiva or Rudra is advisable. He's the protector. He's the ultimate protector. So it could be a simple, Yes.
So can we say that we should actually follow our roots back, basically, that we should go for Surya Namaskar, we should chant Surya Mantra, and we should also worship Shiva, so that the protection is there, the strength is there, and the stability is there.
Absolutely, absolutely true, because it is for the vitality, it is for the immunity, it is for the awakening of your soul, and that's where sort of Surya comes into picture. So it could be a simple mantra as Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, for Surya or Rudra. So worshipping Surya. So not sure, if you can't go to a temple, don't, just sort of sit, do some prayers. Surya Namaskar, a great remedy. Sun is a graha which demands consistency. There's a scientific relevance again. Why? Because sun is the most consistent. It will have a set time every day of rising and setting up. It transits, the exact number of days. Other grahas vary, in terms of transit, but sun is the most consistent. So it demands you to be, it expects you to be consistent at the same time.
Great. So I suppose that you have given people every, in every aspect, like Divya said, physically, mentally, and spiritually, they can actually understand. These three mantras are the mool mantras for them. And thank you for explaining it so beautifully. Thank you for coming to Sunny Side Up. And we hope to see you more of you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you
problem.
so
Thank you
much.
for having
It
me
has been
here.
a pleasure to have you, and the way you have described has been amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.